Well, hello, this is Brian Grenier putting together a screencast for El Paso ISD teachers that highlight some of the features of CK12 and the Flexbooks that we've adopted in the district in our core content areas. In today's screencast, we are going to take a look at some of the resources that are available on the CK12 website for our teachers and for our students. Specifically, we're going to look at the simulations that are available as well as these PLIX activities that are available for us. So let's go ahead, let's dive right in. I'd like to start this webinar, or this screencast rather, by looking at these PLIX activities. What these are, in the latest release of CK12, CK12 released these PLIX activities, and PLIX stands for Play, Learn, Interact, and Explore. And these activities are intended to offer our students, our learners, an interactive and immersive experience for exploring concepts that are often used in using real world examples. These activities, the PLIX activities themselves, these are geared towards either math or science. Now, these aren't necessarily activities that you can embed directly into the Flexbook. However, you can provide links to these activities if you wanted to. So these aren't going to be embeddable within the book itself. However, you can direct your students towards them. So let's go ahead. Let's click on PLIX. And by the way, I should back up a little bit. These activities are found just on the main login page of CK12. So once you're logged in, if you don't see this, if you just click on the CK12 icon right there, that will direct you right towards the page that those simulations and activities are found on. So let's go ahead, let's click on PLIX and get in here and take a look at some of the activities that are available for our student. And there are literally scores of activities in here. Looking at the top of the page here, you can see that these are applicable to either math or science, and I would simply choose if I'm looking for activities for math or science. So let's say I'm working with a math class. Directly below that, I can then filter down to the subject area. So, you know, in this math class, am I in a, you know, algebra class or statistics class? Let's say geometry. So I can drill down to geometry and then down to a specific concept within geometry. So perhaps, you know, my students are struggling with, let's say, complementary angles here. So I can come down to complementary angles. I can click on that specific PLIX activity. It'll take just a second to load in. But once it does load in, we have an activity for our students to use to either gain a deeper understanding of the concept, perhaps to review the concept, or to explore the concept further. Teachers, you may want to use some of these PLIX activities as a warm-up activity in your classroom, perhaps to introduce a new concept or just a fun assignment for your students. So you can see the activity that we've opened up on complementary angles. Now I'm going to stretch way back to when I was in geometry, and if I remember correctly, complementary angles are angles that combine create a 90-degree angle. So it tells me right here, if I move point L to point B, I can determine whether or not the angle AOB is a right angle. So I'm going to move point L here to point B, and I can see here that indeed my angle is a 90-degree angle. So I know that those were complementary angles. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Challenge Me to see what type of challenge opens up for our students. So I'm looking for the measurement of the angle MOB is equal to 4x plus 2 degrees. So I'm going to move point L to point M, and I am to determine the value of x to the nearest integer. So if I look, I know that my angle AOL is 64 degrees. I know that these complementary angles would add up to 90 degrees, so that tells me that MOB, angle MOB would have to be equal to 26 degrees. So I know that 26 degrees here is equal to 4x plus 2. So 4x would be equal to 24 degrees, so x would be equal to 6. And if I select that, I can see that I indeed got that correct. Students do have hints up here. They can use the hint to get some clues on how to work these challenge problems. They also have the ability to learn more. So if I click on Learn More down here, that would take me to either a video or a reading about, in this case, complementary angles. And you can see this one looks like it is a video about complementary angles. So let me just kind of back out here. Like I said, there are math PLIX activities as well as science PLIX activities. So perhaps I'm in a science class. This would be an earth science class, and I'm struggling with the concept of, let's say, seasons here. I can click on this seasons activity and learn more about what actually causes seasons. How does the tilt of the Earth's axis in relationship to the sun affect where the direct rays of the sun are hitting the Earth? And I can, determine, okay, in March and September on the equinox, the sun's rays are directly over the equator, and then all our solstices, either over the tropics, Tropic of Cancer or Tropic of Cancer, Capricorn. So these PLIX activities, I would encourage you to get in there to explore them, to see how those can indeed be used with your students. Any of these activities, let me just open one up here real quick. Any one of these activities, you can point your students directly to those activities simply by copying and pasting this URL up here into your CK12 Flexbook, onto your web page. You can make it a shortened URL using a shortener like bit.ly or tinyURL and project it in the front of the class. You could drop it into a class notebook that you may be using with OneNote, but that's how you would direct your students to those activities. So let's back up. Let's take a look at the second set of resources that I wanted to talk about today, which are the simulations that are available in CK12. Now, simulations, these are simulations tied to physics. So these are physics simulations that are appropriate from middle school through high school. They are all tied to national standards. They're all aligned to national standards. They are searchable. So if I wanted to come up here and just search for a concept, let's say radiocarbon dating, I could just search. I can't search for radiocarbon dating. Let's go back into simulations here. And let's say I am searching for, there we go, radiocarbon. I used two words, radiocarbon dating. I could search that way. I can also filter out these simulations by various concepts if I wanted to. So if I'm, doing a unit on the introduction to physics, I could select that filter and see the various simulations that are available related to that particular concept. Let's turn that off. We are going to take a quick look here at the simulations that are available by watching a short video put together by the CK12 organization. So sit back, this is about a 5-minute video, and we will pick up where we left off after the video.
Welcome to the Sim Instructor tutorial. These sims are appropriate for middle school, high school, and introductory college level physics and can be filtered by national science standards. Topical coverage is broad, from motion and mechanics to electricity and magnetism, sound and light, and modern physics. You can filter the sims by concept or find an appropriate sim using keywords. Each simulation begins with a question, typically not a question that is easy to answer just once. Rather, a question that one might come back to time and again throughout a physics education. This question is followed by a descriptive video, demonstrating some of the ideas that will be addressed in the sim and asking further guiding questions that can be paused along the way. The font size can be manipulated to enhance the written content based on the user's device and personal preference. For repeat users of the sim, this introductory video can be skipped. Following this video, the user is placed in an interactive sandbox-style environment, typically characterized by a responsive, animated scene and a set of sliders that can be manipulated for adjustment of physical variables. One or two data plots are displayed so that the users can see the relationships between these variables and observe the effects of changes to them. Each slider and graph in the system has an information tag that can be activated to learn more. Furthermore, users can change the graph to, for instance, compare two sets of data by clicking on Enable Last Run. Users can then zoom in to see the graph more clearly by clicking Zoom. The graphs can also be hidden to reduce cognitive load when first walking through a topic with introductory students by clicking on Hide Graph. The graphs will return by clicking on the small graph icon. From within the simulation, users can click on these three dots to learn more about the sim, report an issue, or share the link to the sim via Facebook, Twitter, or email. Students are invited to offer feedback on their learning experience, to challenge themselves with questions that can be answered through exploration, and to explore the concepts behind the simulation. The Concepts link takes students to the relevant material in the CK12 Flexbooks, featuring a variety of learning modalities such as textbook readings and online videos from physics instructors. A walkthrough link will soon be available for anyone feeling lost, in which students can watch a narrated video that carefully details how the simulation works, what the important physical relationships are, and how this information can be derived from the data plots in animation. Once the user has finished exploring the simulation, they can move on to a set of related real-world examples. 4 of these are provided, each with a short narrative and compelling image, allowing the student to expand the basic idea of the simulation into new directions. Users are also invited to submit their own examples, including an image and narrative text here. As the contributed bank of real-world examples continues to grow, the user will maintain the ability to distinguish CK12 content and community-contributed content. We are eager to open up a conversation with the physics education community in regards to how students are engaging with these simulations and how teachers envision using them. What topics or concepts would you like to see added? How would you like to customize and enhance these sims? How are these sims best used inside and outside the classroom? We appreciate you taking the time to submit your feedback and aiding us in achieving our mission, enabling all students to learn in their own unique way. Thank you.
So hopefully you can see now how those physics simulations can be used in your classroom, used with your students. They really are one of the better resources that CK12 has made available to teachers and students uh, across the globe. I hope this webinar was helpful for you. This screencast was helpful for you. If you have any questions about CK12 Flexbooks or any of the resources available within CK12, please do not hesitate to contact me or get a hold of your campus instructional technology specialists. As always, any one of us would be more than happy to help you out with implementing CK12 Flexbooks and resources in your classroom. So until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.